Hi guys, welcome back to the Drive Life channel. In today's video, we're going to be answering a question that a lot of you have asked me for a long time since I've started, or since I've owned the Volvo, and that is, what car would I buy if, for some reason, I couldn't have a Volvo? So today we're going to browse Auto Trader. I'm going to discuss the sort of things I look for when buying a car, and answer that question and see what I would really buy if I didn't drive a Volvo. So let's get straight into it. Okay then, so first up, it's actually defaulted already. We've got the Mercedes E-Class. Now, I've always been a fan of the Mercedes E-Class, Mercedes-Benz in general, especially the ones that are built properly. So we're going to sort of avoid the early 2000s, such as this one here for £490. What we're going to do, my favourite type of E-Class is actually I think it's the W211, I want to say, and it's the E320 CDI, this generation here. Now, I'm going to change the body type to Estates just because I think the Estates look wicked, and I want to go for one that's after 2005 just because they had that complicated braking system. So this one here, this Mercedes-Benz E-Class, now you know by the colour of this car that it's just been owned by someone who is sensible, who isn't going to abuse the car. They've probably got the money to treat it nicely. The fact that it's in this good a condition already is a positive sign for me. It's £6.5 grand. I like the spec on it. It's quite old man spec, but it also, yeah, screams sort of sophistication, should we say. And these Benzes were built very solidly. There's loads and loads of these cars on the internet with hundreds and millions, well, some have got millions of miles on, but there's certainly lots with 2, 3, 4, 500,000 miles on. And that's the sort of car I like. I like a big, comfortable car that does life well. A relatively big engine, very good for long distance cruising. I don't like cars that are sort of underpowered. That's why I like the D5 in the S80, is the fact that it's well and truly sort of adequately powered, should we say. So that's option number one, is a Mercedes E-Class. Now, continuing on the Mercedes train, if we just change our body style back to include everything, I am an absolute sucker for an E-Class, an S-Class, sorry. The S-Class from 2006 onwards is something that I really love, something like this look. This one's an ex-chauffeur car, so again, it's not been abused probably. It's been serviced on time and driven sedately to ensure that the rear seat passengers are kept comfortable. And I just think for £7,000, that's such a lot of car. I don't know about you guys, but they're just nicely finished, nicely looked after. As you can see, this one's got the lovely wooden inlays on the wheels as well, which I love. I'm not sure I'd spend my time watching Rishi Sunak on the TV in it, but just to have a car that was actually built to be the best car that a company could build, I think it's a lot. It says a lot about a company, and I've actually sat in one of these, and they are brilliantly well built and really nicely appointed. So yeah, sort of a late 2000s S-Class, I think, would be another lovely addition to the Drive Life feat. Let's take a look then. Let's work our way down. I'm not really a fan of Audis. I'll be totally honest. The only one I do like is an A8. Actually, I do like the A7 as well, but they're just a bit too modern. It sounds a bit ridiculous. I'm not really a fan of modern cars. Sort of a bit too many electrics going on. I don't like anything with a big screen in the middle, that sort of thing. He says after he's just shown you an S-Class, but it's that, yeah, there are certain cars that are more appealing to me than others. For example, this Audi A8 here, this one's got the 4.2 TDI V8 engine. So absolute beast, absolute autobahn stormer, mile muncher, whatever you want to say. I like cars that don't break a sweat on the motorway. You know, you've always got that power and reserve. These, you can actually tune these up to over 1,000 Newton meters of torque, which is pretty crazy. And again, it's just nicely appointed, not too flashy. As you might notice, I'm quite conservative in my car choice. I don't like to be too flashy. I wouldn't go for a Porsche 911 or anything like that. As much as I'd love to have one, I just think they draw too much attention. And I like to have a car that is below the radar, shall we say. So next up, let's take a look at BMWs. Now, I have always been a BMW fan. My parents have always had BMWs. And I actually had a 1 Series when I was, just before I had the Volvo, before it got written off. And so I've always had a bit of an affinity to BMW, and in particular, Alpina. Now, this is a if money was no object choice, an Alpina D5. I do like diesels, and I'm not particularly a fan of the sort of G20 edition. I prefer the older ones, like this here. Here you've got an Alpina D5 bi-turbo. Those quad exhausts, I think, just look fantastic, and the Alpina wheels are iconic. And they're just sort of the ultimate version of a driver's car for the road. They're not about track times. You know, I've driven on a track a few times, and I just can't see the point in having a vehicle specifically for a track. It's much more, in my opinion, enjoyable to drive briskly on a proper testing road than it is on a track. So yeah, I mean, the fit and finish of Alpinas are just stunning. This is just before BMW actually bought Alpina, so it's still separate, and doesn't sort of falter to BMW's every wish. But I just think they're a lovely looking car. And again, a 5 Series 535D estate as well. That's another one that I would absolutely love. I'm not a particular fan of the E61 generation of BMW like this one here. I much prefer the, yeah, it's probably not a very good example of those stupid wheels on, but the F generation 5 Series, because again, they're just a bit more conservatively styled. Now, I've driven them in my past in the police as well, which was good fun. So I've got a bit of experience with them. The newer ones just didn't have the same feel. So yeah, that's my take on BMWs. I like a big car. I probably wouldn't go down as small as a 3 Series, just because of the fact that they're, I just think I'm quite a wide person. I like to have a lot of space. We've obviously got the dog, Mrs. DL. We like to go on long journeys, road trips, take everything with the kitchen sink. So yeah, and I just think that longer wheelbase is more comfortable on a long journey, in my opinion. So yeah, I mean, 7 Series as well. I do sort of think it's a bit of a strange car in the fact that, you know, if you want luxury, you go for an S-Class because it's comfortable and luxurious, and you're not going to be hooning it around everywhere. So the idea of having an S-Class rival that's more engaging to drive, I do struggle to get my head round. Again, if money was no object, they do a 760 Li version, which is or 760L V12. Now this thing is an absolute beast. It's a 6.6 litre V12. I think it's got 600 horsepower or 570 horsepower or something. They're obviously ruinously expensive to run, and if it ever goes wrong, then, you know, you're stuffed. But 602 horsepower. But I just think a V12 in a saloon car is awesome, in every way. So it's got to be done. Jaguar. Now, I'm a Jaguar fan. I do like British cars, but I think the only one I really like, or that I would personally buy that suits my sort of way of life or what I do, XJ. I'm not particularly a fan of these really new ones. I like the, I think it's a 350, something like this, and they're pretty reasonably priced. As you can see here, there's a diesel, £4,000, and just look at the value for money in that car. They're just awesome. They're iconic looking. They're quintessentially British, although don't think Jaguar were owned by the British at the time, which is ironic, isn't it? But I just love them. I think they're fantastic. And I think they're modern enough where you've got sort of comfort and useful features such as Bluetooth phone, but you don't succumb to all of the driving age rubbish and all of the sort of overly emissions focused stuff. Now, a wild card and a car that's sort of a guilty pleasure. I do have a thing for big Citroens. Now, in particular, the Citroën C6 is an extremely rare car. They're becoming more and more rare. You can see there's only 12 here for sale. And I just think, let's have a look at this. This one will be a really nice one at £10,000. You're never going to see another car like this. Citroën, I mean, this was the French presidential car for a long time. And you can just see it's been designed by someone who, well, I think they've designed the front and forgotten about the back. But it's designed to be totally different. It's designed to get you from one place to another in pure comfort. It had the hydro pneumatic suspension, and as you can see, this one's been very well looked after. Owned by an enthusiast, and that's the sort of thing you want to look for when you're buying a car like that. It's something, one that's been owned by an enthusiast, I think. That's important. But just look at the way you've got those wooden door pockets, and these ones don't fall to bits, unlike other Citroens do. These ones are very, very well built because they were the flagship car. And like I said about the S-Class, there's something quite cool about having a flagship car. You really do get a lot of car for the money. Now, Mrs. DL is a big fan of 4x4s, and if she really bent my arm and made me put her foot down and said that we had to have a 4x4, then what would I get? Well, I don't think I'd get another Jeep after our current experience with this one. Still off the road with a gearbox issue. I spent a fortune on it already, and it just doesn't seem to be getting any better. So that's annoying. Now, obviously, a big chunky car is an L322 Range Rover. I would absolutely love an L322 Range Rover if I could be able to justify spending the £600 a year to tax, or £700 now. The maximum of 30 mpg, and then the cost of replacing turbos and all stuff like that. I think I would if I was doing less miles. I mean, I do across all of our vehicles, all four vehicles. I think we've done nearly 40,000 miles this year. So I think if I was going to have an L322 Range Rover, I want it to be one of only two cars, maybe. I'd want one that's been cherished and looked after. I'd want to spend a bit of money to get a good one. I wouldn't pay £3,000 like this one here, and I wouldn't get the 3-litre TD6. I'd get the 4.4-litre TD V8. It's more fuel efficient, slightly more reliable apparently, and it's a 4.4-litre V8. I mean, it's just cool, isn't it? They sort of keep up with traffic pretty well. I just think they're quintessentially British, iconic cars. I think they're modern classics. I think they're going to go up in value soon, or they already are, but they're going to continue to climb. And in the winter, Mrs. DL and I go on shoots with Dog, who's a gun dog and a trained gun dog. So, I mean, it would be the perfect car for that, wouldn't it? Turn up in comfort and have space for the dog, and if we get another dog, it would just be lovely to be able to comfortably do that and have a car that is built for that. And obviously I would actually buy an XC90 for that sort of thing, but if Volvo wasn't an option, then I would consider the Range Rover, despite the fact it may financially ruin me. Toyota. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of Toyotas, other than the Toyota Land Cruiser or the Hilux. I think, again, just cars that are built solidly and going to be here forever are the sort of car I like. And in particular, the Land Cruiser Amazon. For me, they are the ultimate Toyota Land Cruiser, or the ultimate 4x4. They last forever. You've got them here. I mean, look, this one here, 252,000 miles, and they're still asking £7,000. And what does that tell you about how widely regarded these are? I mean, they're used in across the world, in battlefields, in I mean every terrorist group seems to have Toyotas. That's not a reason to buy one, obviously, but they're just an extremely solid, reliable workhorse. And I think when you live out in the countryside like I do, where there's, you know, quite often you'll have to go down a dirt track to a friend's house, or just having something that will always just keep going. Something that's under stress. There's a 4.2 litre V8 diesel with 200 horsepower. Something that low stress, you know, it's just going to last forever. I mean, Toyota actually cool the oil, and they found that one of the most important things here was to keep the oil cool on these engines, and that's why they last so long, is because they perfected that. Now, I, again, have seen one of these on 784,000 miles on the original engine and gearbox. So that's just testament. They're built in a separate factory to the rest of the Toyotas. They're built specifically in a Land Cruiser factory, and I just think that's awesome. If a company's going to go to that much detail and trouble to create a good car, it's going to last, and it's the sort of car you want to buy. It's the sort of car you can have forever, until they ban them. Yeah, that is that's another one that I would definitely have. Now, I'm just having a look at what other car brands we've got. Chrysler 300 would be quite cool to just try one of those. I wouldn't want to own it for any particular period of time, but just to drive around in a big American car, especially the Hemi one. I think that would be cool. Lexus, again, I love Lexuses, but I find myself struggling to see why I should buy one. In particular, I love the LS. As you can tell, I like big saloon cars. I like the idea, but it's just the running costs on them are astronomical. They're only available with V8 engines, petrol V8s. So, I mean, this is the hybrid one. This is the most efficient one that you could buy. And this is going to, at best, get 35 mpg. Now, that's using the hybrid system. Really, in real life, you're going to struggle to get over 30 mpg, I think, in one of these on a run. Now, bearing in mind, I drive up and down the motorway to Surrey and back once a week. I don't want to spend that sort of money on fuel. For me, a diesel makes sense in that regard, and I will keep driving a diesel for as long as I can, just because I think the fact that I can fill my Volvo up now and it gives me 1,000 miles range, you know, I could drive to Sweden on one tank of fuel. Try and do that in many other cars nowadays. You just can't do it. And like my van as well, that's fantastic. It will just go forever on 170,000 miles now. Runs like new. That engine, they're just diesels when they're used in the right context. I think are fantastic. And a lot of people go about the environmental issues and that sort of thing, but the amount of distance you can get out of a diesel engine compared to a petrol or an electric car. I'm not going to get into the politics around electric cars, but they last so much longer. And I think the actual resource consumption of building vehicles is often underplayed in new cars. I mean, I would much rather buy secondhand or keep a car for longer than repeatedly get a new car. That's much better for the planet to keep and preserve the things we already have. So yeah, that is sort of where I come from on my car standpoint. So when I'm looking at cars, I want something that is solid, well built, going to last, reasonable fuel economy and running costs. I don't mind spending money to keep a car going. For example, I put £1,000 of rear shock absorbers on my Volvo. I only paid £1,500 for the car, but I couldn't have bought another car like that for under £1,000. It is just, I think, if it's always cheaper to repair a car than buy a new one, in my opinion, or from my experience. So that's what I like to do. I enjoy doing it as well. I enjoy doing it myself, so that often helps. But yeah, let me know your thoughts, what you think. Do I have awful taste in cars, or do any of you as Volvo owners sort of share the same sentiment in the fact you like a nice, well-built car that's going to last for many years to come? But yeah, let me know as well if you like this sort of video, and I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.